I wanted to talk a little bit more about that infamous assault which a court security officer carried out against videographer Sam Dodson. This happened in Keene in April, and I made a call to follow up with the folks at Keene District Court to find out how they were handling this. The attack was videotaped by Dodson and one or two other people. You can see it on obscuredtruth.com. I wanted to talk to Lance Walton, who's in charge of security at Keene District Court and I think a couple other courts. When I called, he was apparently not, I think he was on vacation or something. So I ended up just talking to the guy who answered. He was pretty personable, and he gave me his name, Ron Dusevich. Hope I'm saying that correctly. That would be I think that would be the native pronunciation of the name, but I don't know if it's how he pronounces it. I can't remember if he gave me, I can't remember how he pronounced it, but that would be how it would be pronounced in the Slavic context. Anyway, he said this issue has been placed before an organization known as, I think, Administrative Office of the Courts, something like that. I couldn't figure that out by Googling it exactly what it was called, but whoever's in charge in Concord, probably. He said Keene District Court had sent AOC all of the relevant information about the assault. He said these things get fully investigated. And he gave me the name of someone I could talk to at AOC. I called AOC later and asked for that person, but was directed to someone else who did not return my call. I asked Dusevich what was the name of the assaulting officer, and he said he wasn't sure that he could give that to me, that the Privacy Act might prevent that. I guess, as I said, he was not hesitant to give me his own name. He told me he's just a gopher. Later, I made another call to Nashua District Court on an unrelated abuse incident, which was theoretically less extreme, but actually did more harm in a passive sort of way. I'm talking about the fact that Nashua District Court forced Texas activist Catherine Bleisch to travel all the way to the state, only to tell her she had to come back later. Bleisch was arrested on a disorderly conduct charge after she yelled at and videotaped police who were arresting a marijuana suspect. She was visiting Nashua at the time. I left a message for the court clerk, Tony Anastas, and he called me back the same day, to his credit, even though I made clear in my message what the subject was going to be. When I indicated to him my understanding that Bleisch had been forced to come all the way from Texas basically for nothing, he seemed a little bit shocked and said that isn't something that should be happening. He asked if she had an attorney. I told him I didn't know. I didn't know. I think that's what I said. And he said, if she couldn't afford one would be provided by the court. I told him I thought that might be an ethical issue for her to accept state assistance, knowing her ideology, but I wasn't sure. He opened up the case file to look at it more in depth, and then he said, "Okay, here's what looks like what happened." Basically, he said she was brought up for her arraignment, and because the trial process was going to take more than a half an hour, it couldn't be done that day, so it had to be scheduled for later. So essentially, I think what he was saying is that she didn't come up there for nothing. She came up there for her arraignment, which, of course, again, happened months after her arrest. He noted that the record shows she does currently have an attorney. I don't know anything about that attorney myself. Also, I'm not positive that he was saying half an hour was an exact cutoff point, but he just indicated, he mentioned the term half an hour, and he talked about if a trial goes beyond a certain point or is going to take a certain amount of time, they will reschedule it for later. He referenced the fact that the courts are very clogged right now and backlogged, and they're always trying to save time, or at least he indicated that. And I asked him if there is any thought in the works or any plan in the works to maybe deprioritize some of the cases that are victimless, and he seemed to indicate there was no such plan, but rather an effort to move things along faster. He said they're very short-staffed and judges' time has been cut back. He said there's no money, not enough judges, and it's a problem. But he said they try every case. I said, don't you have discretion? But again, what he focused on was the idea of trying every case as fast as possible. I asked him what he thought the percentage was of cases that they push through the system which are victimless. And he said he'd have no idea. I asked him who the prosecutor was in the case. He said it was basically just Nashua Police Department, so it could be any of a number of individuals involved. He said that any continuance for Bleisch, if there were a further continuance, would go through her attorney. And he said he didn't want her to have to come out there for nothing. He said he doesn't agree with people having to come out there for nothing. But again, I don't think he's really admitting that that happened. What he's saying is that when Bleisch was brought out there, that was for her arraignment. So technically it wasn't for nothing. He said a disorderly conduct trial has been scheduled for August 18th. There's been a motion to dismiss, he said, that it has been denied. So he said the original arraignment was May 3rd. The arrest was March 31st. Well, that doesn't make any sense. I thought it was earlier than that. But anyway, and he says something original was March 31st. And of course, again, the trial, August 18th. He seemed to indicate that distance of travel does weigh into a judge's decision-making, but that they can't do it all in one go if it's going to take very long. I think I asked him if his court is capable of rendering speedy trials as mandated by the Constitution. And if I recall, he indicated that speedy trials was sort of a relative term. He wasn't sure exactly what I meant by that. That's all I can think of to tell you. But of course, in both the case of Anastas and Dusevic, these were, these people behaving professionally in the context of the call and who were not shrinking from talking to me. So I appreciate that in both cases. You don't get that with every bureaucrat. Like I said, my call to AOC did not even get returned. I didn't attempt to record either call simply because I guess what I'm doing here is not purely journalistic, but rather it's trying to get bureaucrats actually a little bit into their comfort zone, so that they can feel like they're talking to normal, typical human beings or normal, typical journalists to some extent, within a context that they can relate to, and so that whatever questions I might ask them stick in their mind in a friendly way. Running the recorder will result in a better story, more entertainment for you, but it will interfere with my ability or my attempts, at least, to get some ideas into their heads, which they might be friendly towards. It's not the way I'm going to handle every call or every interaction, but it just seemed appropriate in this case. Also, I was having some technical issues recording with the recording equipment, so there wasn't really any point in recording that day. All right, that's where things stand with those minor conversations regarding court abuses of liberty activists in New Hampshire.